Chapter 106. Shizun, where are you?
Died from a chi deviation.
The gatekeeper repeated his words back slowly, then humphed.
You a cultivator? A cultivator, and you're down here at your age? How very unfortunate.
The gatekeeper smirked unkindly. Many ordinary people didn't have the good karma to be born with the foundational aptitude for cultivation, so mocking cultivators amounted to a case of sour grapes.
You know, your soul looks kinda iffy to me, like it's tainted.
Master Huizui had placed an enchantment on Moran, meant to cover up his living scent and allow him to interact with souls. This, while there was certainly something peculiar about this young man, the gatekeeper couldn't immediately put his finger on it. He sat back down and crossed one leg over the other, then rummaged around in a drawer. He extracted a pitch-black ruler.
Sin measuring ruler,
he said smugly, though it wasn't clear what he was so smug about. The ruler wasn't even his. But with some people, the less important their position, the more it pleased them to put on airs. The gatekeeper slapped the ruler down on the table and raised his eyes to stare at Moran.
Stick out your hand. This lordly one's gonna measure your merit in life.
Moran stared, speechless. His merit in life? If they measured that, wouldn't he get chucked directly over to Lord Yanlur to be ground into dust? But with so many eyes watching and nowhere to run, he had little choice. He exhaled, then shifted the soul-calling lantern into one hand and extended the other. The gatekeeper made to place the ruler against the inside of Moran's wrist, but the very instant it made contact with his skin, the ruler screeched shrilly. Globules of blood dripped from its pitch-black body, and the weeping and wailing of thousands filled the air.
I will not rest in death. May you never be allowed to reincarnate, more by you.
Dad! Mom! You son of a bitch!
Why? Why? Don't kill me! Please don't kill me!
Moran jerked his hand back, his face devoid of color. The assembled ghosts were all staring at him, and the gatekeeper's stare was the most inscrutable of all. He eyed Moran with a gaze like a fierce beast, then bent his head to look down at the ruler. The red glow had faded, and the dripping blood was also gone, as though it had been an hallucination. The surface of the table now perfectly clean, but on the ruler a line of characters slowly appeared. Sins beyond redemption, sent to level. Which level of hell? Moran had pulled his hand back before the sin-measuring ruler could finish its work, so the rest was left off. The gatekeeper yanked Moran's arm back, and his eyes locked onto him like a restless predator who'd finally caught a whiff of rare prey. His nostrils flared, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. Half his intestines had slid out again, but this time he didn't bother shoving them back in.
Hold still while I retake the measurement.
His face was impatient and greedy, as if he was already picturing himself claiming commendations from Yanlur. His ghostly claws dug into Moran's wrist as he hauled him over, and his expression was practically unhinged as he slapped the sin-measuring ruler against Moran's wrist once again. Catching a ghost meant for the 18 hells would be a great feather in his cap. He'd be promoted by at least 3 tiers then and there, and could say goodbye to the tedium of sitting at this gate, recording the comings and goings of this morass of souls.
A proper measuring this time.
The sin-measuring ruler lit up again. Just as before, blood streamed from its black surface, and screams filled the air. It was as if every person Moran had ever killed, and all the sins that he had ever committed, were crammed into this small black rectangle. The sheer magnitude of resentment overwhelmed the little thing almost to bursting.
I hate... More by you. I'll never let you off, even when I'm dead.
Moran was becoming more and more distraught. He lowered his lashes and pressed his lips tightly together, something unreadable in his eyes.
You have no conscience. You've turned this whole world into hell. I'll haunt you when I'm dead. Ah!
Weeping, wailing, cursing, hating. Then suddenly, amidst those clamoring voices, a soft sigh.
I'm sorry, Moran. It was this master's fault.
Moran's eyes flew open, full of grief and sorrow. Once again, he heard those words from his past life, the ones Chu Wanning spoke on the verge of death. They were so gentle, so sorrowful, but they cut into his skull like a knife, as if they would cleave his soul apart. The voices slowly faded to nothing, and the sin-measuring ruler fell silent. A line of characters appeared again. Sins beyond redemption, sent to level. Moran didn't pull away this time, but the writing still didn't finish. The gatekeeper blinked, then tapped the black ruler a couple of times.
Is it broken?
The ruler quivered a little from the taps. Then, unexpectedly, the words disappeared. A thin layer of celestial haze rose from the ruler's surface, and it glowed with a brilliant radiance. This time, there was no weeping or wailing. Instead came music, like melodious birdsong, drifting between clouds, as if the most elegant chords of the ninth heaven have descended into the underworld. The crowd of souls was entranced, and even the gatekeeper found himself mesmerized. Only when the celestial music ceased did the gatekeeper finally come to his senses. When he checked the sin-measuring ruler again, it bore these words: "Everything normal, allowed to pass."
Impossible!
The gatekeeper cried. What had happened to sins beyond redemption a moment ago? Why was it everything normal now? In disbelief, he gave it several more tries, but it was the same every time. First, sounds of screaming, then beautiful music, and finally, without exception, everything normal, allowed to pass. The gatekeeper was bitterly disappointed, but he had no grounds to block a normal soul from entering the underworld. He shoved his intestines spitefully back into his abdomen and clicked his tongue in displeasure.
Tch, that's some chi deviation you had, all right.
Moran was just as surprised. He hadn't the least idea what was happening either. After a bit of thought, he concluded that Master Huizui's enchantment must have confused the ruler. He sighed in relief.
Take your damn entry pass and get lost. You're wasting my time. Beat it.
Moran was more than happy to oblige and had turned to leave with the soul-calling lantern in his arms when the gatekeeper's eyes suddenly lit again and he yelled,
"Hang on!"
Moran kept his expression neutral, but his heart began to race. Feigning exasperation, he asked,
"What is it now?"
The gatekeeper jerked his chin toward the lantern.
"What's that you've got there?"
"Oh, this." Moran's hand stroked the lantern as the gears in his head whirled rapidly. He turned around with a smile.
"It's my burial item." "Burial item?"
"Yeah, it's a magical relic."
"Huh, well, isn't that interesting?"
The gatekeeper pointed to the table, his eyes flashing.
"Put it down there, and let's measure one more time. Your magical relic was probably interfering with the ruler."
Moran roundly cursed this asshole in his head, but he held his tongue. He could do nothing but set the lantern down and stick his wrist out once again with some apprehension. The gatekeeper seemed quite confident this time. He eagerly swung the ruler into place once more, but the result was the same. The words appeared clear as day. Everything normal, allowed to pass. Moran was just as confused as the gatekeeper, but with that, the man finally gave up for good and waved him lazily in. Moran didn't dare linger a moment longer. He picked up the soul-calling lantern and, hugging it to his chest, strode down the lengthy passageway. As he stepped out, the quality of the light suddenly changed. The ghost realm unfolded before his eyes. The first level of hell stretched into the distance with no end in sight. The sky was the scarlet of a sunset on fire, and all manner of strange flora sprouted from the ground. Rows of uneven roof tiles sprawled across the immediate skyline, and palatial structures lined the horizon. On a monolith at the entrance were engraved the words, "Thy flesh returns to dust, thy soul to Nanke Town." The red-painted gateway that towered next to it bore the words, "Nanke Town," carved and gilded upon it, each character the height of a grown man. It seemed this was the name of the first level of hell. All of the deceased, assuming there was nothing extraordinary about them, would cool their heels here for 8 to 10 years until summoned to the second level by the judge of the underworld, at which point they would stand trial and receive judgment. Moran peered about as he walked, cradling the soul-calling lantern in his arms. As far as he could tell, the layout wasn't much different from a regular town in the living world. There were roads, residences, and even shops. He counted 18 streets in total, 9 running from north to south, and 9 from east to west. The souls of men, women, and children went about their business, some laughing, others weeping. It was truly a gathering of ghosts. Moran heard a newly deceased woman sobbing from the east side. "What do I do? What do I do? Everyone says remarried women are cut in half and divided between their 2 husbands. Is it true? Can anyone tell me if it's true?" Beside her, a girl with disheveled clothes and tangled hair wiped the tears from her face. "I didn't want to do that kind of work, but how else could I make a living? When I was still alive, I tried to atone for my sins. I went to a local temple to donate a threshold. To be stepped on as people came and went. But the village chief demanded 400 gold to swap out the threshold. If I had that kind of money, I wouldn't have sold my body in the first place." Over on the west side, a man was counting. 401 days, 402 days, 403 days. We agreed to die together for love, but I've been down here 404 days already, and she still hasn't followed. He sighed. She's so delicate. Maybe she got lost on the way down. If she really did, what will I do? These freshly dead souls milled about Nanke Town's gate, crying and muttering, lingering and protesting. Farther in were the older ghosts. They had already been back to the living world and resigned themselves to their circumstances. These ghosts were more equanimous, and each had taken up some livelihood to occupy their time while they awaited trial. By the 3rd street, things were as busy and bustling as any market in the living world. These were old souls, not yet severed from their mortal lives after all. They had not yet drunk Mengpo's soup of forgetfulness, and, though ghosts, were still nigh indistinguishable from ordinary humans. Those who had been entertainers in life busked at the side of the streets. Those who had been seamstresses still wove clothing. Only now they used clouds of hell. Butchers dared not kill anymore, but could at least sharpen knives and scissors. Sounds of peddling and cheering rose and fell, lively and energetic. Moran stopped in front of a ghost selling calligraphy and paintings. The ghost was stick-thin and sickly, with jutting cheekbones and a hollowed-out stomach. He probably hadn't managed to sell a single painting in his entire life, and literally starved to death. When he saw that someone had sat down at his booth, the skinny scholar looked up. His eyes were bleary, but his expression did not lack for passion as he said, "Gongze, looking to buy a painting? I want you to draw me a portrait." The scholar was woeful. "Paintings of people can hardly compare to the artistry of landscapes. Take a look at this painting of Mount Taishan draped in misty clouds."
I don't care for landscape paintings,
Moran said.
I just need you to draw someone for me. Don't care for landscapes, huh?
The scholar shot him one glance, then another, displeased.
It's said that the kind know to appreciate the mountains, and the wise know to cherish the waters. Gongzi is still so young. You really ought to absorb some culture, smell some ink. As it happens, I would rather not part with my Mount Taishan painting, but since you had the good taste to stop at my booth, surely you have some good sense to go with it. How about this? Just for you, I'll drop the price to... I want you to draw a person.
The scholar fell silent. The two stared each other down. The scholar, of course, was no match for Moran, and folded in no time. This made the man so mad his dead face seemed to flush.
I don't draw people. If you really want it, it'll be 10 times my normal rate. Things cost money, even in the ghost realm?
Moran wondered aloud.
Paper money, burnt by friends and family, yes.
The scholar replied coldly.
Money makes the world go round. Though I myself disdain riches. A gentleman earns his money through honest work. We are neither friends nor family, nor do we have any sympathy, like the legendary Boya and Siki. So, what reason would I have to do you any favors?
He nattered on in this vein. Moran's book knowledge was limited, and he was completely out of his depth. He could only frown and say, I just got here. No one's burned any money for me yet.
No money, no deal.
Moran thought it over and hit upon an idea. He pointed at the Mount Taishan painting.
All right, no deal. But I'm bored and have nothing to do. So, could you tell me something about landscape paintings?
The scholar paused. At once, all his anger turned into delight.
You're interested in landscapes?
Moran nodded.
Does it cost anything to learn from you? Nope.
The scholar was quite conceited, and the way his face lit up was faintly ridiculous, yet also pitiful.
Knowledge is free. Money would only foul it. Scholarly matters mustn't be tainted by such material concerns.
Moran nodded again and thought to himself.
Ah, so that's how the little bookworm starved to death.
Hard as it was not to laugh, the man was rather pathetic. Unfortunately, Moran truly was penniless right now, or he really would have given him some silver. The scholar took the painting from its frame with great excitement, struck a pompous pose, unnecessarily cleared his incorporeal throat, and then, in a tone both anxious and snobbish, said,
Let us begin.
Watching the little bookworm take the bait, Moran smiled broadly.
Please, do enlighten me.